The following program contains sexual content. Viewer discretion advised. Today on an all-new Dr. Phil.
My stepdad is a sick pervert.
Did he molest his stepdaughter?
Every chance Ralph got, he would touch me.
And his granddaughter.
He would have me touch him in the tub.
And your grandmother knew this.
She was fluffing her hair 10 feet away.
She's saying, why would you not turn around and say, get your hands off that child?
I never saw it.
I deny ever hurting Angela or Hannah.
For the first time in 15 years, Hannah and Angie faced the man they say did all of this to them. Let's do it.
Have a good show, everybody. Here we go.
This is a safe place to talk about hard things.
Stand by. We'll count you down.
I try to be an emotional compass and point you in the right direction.
5, 4.
I am not giving up on you. Your wedding day is where you hope to be surrounded by all the people you love, right? It should be a day filled with joy, etched permanently in your memory. Well, Angie says her wedding day 15 years ago is one she will never forget because it's the last time she saw her stepfather, Ralph, who she claims blackmailed her to get an invitation. So why does Angie say she didn't want him there? Well, because she claims Ralph is a monster and molester who routinely abused her as a teen in order to teach her how to be a good wife and learn how to sexually please her husband. Take a look.
My stepdad, Ralph, is a sick pervert, and he has turned my life upside down. Things began when I was 17 years old. Every chance Ralph got, he would touch me. I would bend over to pick something up, and I would feel his hands squeezing me or him pushing himself up against me. When Ralph would drive me to school and his door on the passenger side wouldn't open, but he wouldn't ever get out of the car. He would make me crawl across him, and as I would do it, he would slide his hand across me. Ralph had no shame, no shame. He walked around naked constantly. He would take baths in front of me. He would have sex with my mom with the door open. Ralph would constantly talk about sex around me. He would go into graphic detail about his ex-wives, things that aroused them, kinky things they did together that they enjoyed that I should like. Ralph would talk about where I should apply pressure when touching myself, and then he started touching me in the exact same ways. I have wondered for years if he had drugged me. There were days where I would completely black out. There were some times that I would wake up and there was some physical discomfort. Ralph is disgusting. He's arrogant for even coming on this show. People need to know him for what he really is.
Now, understand Ralph denies all of that, but Angie has even more accusations because she says it goes from bad to worse. Now, according to Angie, Ralph did not stop with her. When she got pregnant with a little girl, Hannah, she claims Ralph insisted on adopting her and putting his name on the birth certificate. Now, that's when Angie claims her own precious baby became the new object of Grandpa's affection while Grandma looked the other way.
Ralph is a sick and twisted child molester. Ralph abused me from the time I was a year old until age 5. The abuse would happen about every other day and while my mom was at work. Ralph would always have me sit on his lap. Ralph would play the naked game. The game involved marbles that we would shoot across the floor, and I always ended up naked. Ralph would lay me naked on the bed and touch me in places that he shouldn't. And there were times when he would make me touch him. While this was happening, my grandmother would be just 10 feet away, fluffing her hair. Ralph would never explain what he was doing. He would tell me to keep it a secret, that it was our secret, and it feels good and it should feel good. Ralph's favorite time was bath times with me, and he would have me between his legs. I would try to maneuver myself to the other end of the tub so I was harder to reach, but he was able to bring me back in. Ralph would laugh during his actions towards me, and it was a very dark, sinister laugh. Ralph would tell me all the time that he loved me and he made me a doll that looked like him. Looking back, Ralph was definitely grooming me. I've waited 15 years to talk to Ralph, and there's a lot I want to say. I am a stronger person now, and I want him to know that he can't hurt any more kids.
Okay, I'm glad to meet both of you, and I'm sorry for the circumstance, but I hope that something really positive comes of this. Many people wonder why on earth, if this man was molesting you, if he was crossing boundaries with you and doing things with you that were clearly inappropriate, why in the world would you put him on the birth certificate as the father of your daughter? He was not the biological father of Hannah, and he's not your biological father.
No, no.
It was your stepfather. Why would you put him on the birth certificate?
The birth father did not want to be in a picture, and he was really aggressive about that, and Utah law required a father to be on, and on top of that, it's a very cultural, I wanted to live the standards and the teachings of my church, and it was a huge issue that a man and a woman be on a child's birth certificate, and
this was his idea, right?
This was his idea. It was also my mom's. My mom is the one that also pushed it forward.
And you said you think this was part of maybe a fantasy he had of actually being with you.
Yeah, I look back now, I think I was so naive and dumb. Back then I thought, honestly, maybe they were trying to protect me, but there was that fear because, I think he knew what he was doing.
Were you aware at the time that what he was doing was wrong? When he was touching you over your clothes, when he was talking to you about all of these graphic sexual encounters that you're talking about, and I'm not going to ask you questions that are going to embarrass you in graphic detail, but when this was going on, were you aware that this was wrong?
Yeah, I thought he was a pervert, but he didn't get really bad and really touchy until after he was on the birth certificate. From then, he went completely on overdrive. Before he was touchy, he'd tell dirty jokes, and then it just completely took a different turn.
Okay, and he has not admitted to this. He hasn't been convicted of this. He hasn't been charged with this, so I have to say that it's alleged by you. Okay, if you knew in your mind this is a pervert, this is someone that is really sick and demented, how did you make it okay for him to be around your daughter?
Yeah, that's something I can't forgive myself for. Honestly, I thought he was just a pervert. He said this kind of stuff in front of people, regular people at work, in front of other siblings, and people would either laugh or they'd roll their eyes, and so I just thought.
But he didn't touch other people in their private areas. He didn't touch them.
At that time, he was just grabbing my butt, and he would do it in front of them. He would do it even in church. And so, and he did walk naked from the bathroom to his room and say that it was natural. I think I was just, I had no reference point, and I just thought, wow, this is weird. It makes me uncomfortable, but I guess this is what it is.
He would have me touch him, and he would touch me.
And where was your grandmother?
She would sometimes be in the bathroom with us.
And later,
But I begged you, don't let him bathe with her while I'm gone. You spoon-fed her to him.
Thursday on an all-new Dr. Phil.
I'm a true prophet of the Lord.
My ex-boyfriend is a dangerous man with a messiah complex.
you put her in scalding hot water.
What's a scalding?
We're the victims here. Do you understand that?
I'm a victim of this world.
Then on Friday,
Brandon was acting, modeling, and even had a record deal.
but look at their 35-year-old son now.
Brandon loves to wear superhero costumes.
To prevent crime and to fight coyotes in Griffith Park.
I was stuck 20 feet in the air, so I figured, what would Batman do?
Well, that's just stupid.
That's Friday.
Okay, it was after Hannah was born that you say he started touching you?
It wasn't until like I said, the birth certificate, when he got put on the birth certificate, that's when he moved forward.
And is this when he started essentially showing you how to pleasure yourself? That's when you say that's when this started happening?
That was towards the end. Things got, the last year that we were living there, things just really picked up. He would tell me about what women like, what his ex-wives liked, and then he would touch me in the way that he had just described earlier.
Okay, now, he was bathing with Hannah like 3 times a week, right?
He regularly.
And do you recall this?
Yeah, yes, I do.
Was this something that went beyond bathing?
He would have me touch him, and he would touch me.
In the tub?
In the tub, yes.
Where was your mother when this was going on?
She was at work.
And where was your grandmother?
She would sometimes be in the bathroom with us, or he'd get hungry in the bathtub, so she would leave the bathroom for a little bit to go make him a salad, and then she would come back.
You were in there long enough that he would need to be fed?
Yes.
She would bring him food while he was in the tub.
How long were you in the tub?
Hour.
Hour.
So you were in there a long time?
Yeah.
All right, so your allegation is that he would touch you and have you touch him?
Yes.
And your grandmother knew this?
Yeah.
What would she say about it?
Nothing.
When you heard about this, what did you do?
I would go to my mom. I would say, do not let him bathe with her. I'm not comfortable with that. And she would say she would talk to him. And I had asked for years for him to stop.
But he was on the birth certificate, you say, so he would threaten you.
Yeah. All I thought I could do was try to negotiate and reason with him. I thought maybe this is, if I could explain why this bothers me, why I'm not comfortable with this, it will stop. And I think my mom thought she could manage it all, but now that he was on the birth certificate, it changed all the power dynamics I had. If I left, he threatened I could not take Hannah with me, that he was going to keep her. He had my car. He was my boss. I just thought, I don't know, I was so dumb if I look. I just thought if he knew I was upset, it would stop.
And you allege that there were times that he would be touching you while he was touching himself.
Yeah, I actually have this really distinct memory. I was laying on the bed naked, and he was sitting upright, and Down, it had a little bit of a hallway in the master bedroom where there was like a his and her closet, and they had mirrors on them with gold trimming around them, and the mirrors kind of made that like infinity illusion. And then just right a little bit past that was a bathroom, and I remember my grandma was in that bathroom, and she was fluffing her hair, and she was doing her makeup and everything, and he was touching me while touching himself, just 10 feet away.
Did you ask your grandmother about this at all?
I would just tell her that it hurt.
You distinctly remember telling your grandmother about this. No question in your mind.
After I had moved out, there was a time where Ralph, he demanded visitation, and I finally, he was already trying to sue for custody, and my mom said, I will take her over for the afternoon. I'll make sure nothing happens. She brought Hannah back. My mom and I were standing in the room. Hannah dumped out her marbles and talked about the naked game she played with Ralph. So I know my mom heard things. I know she saw things. And that was when I said, never again.
Well, so what does Grandma say about this? What does she know? Both her daughter and her granddaughter claim that Lita was right there, literally looking the other way. Let's find out what Lita has to say after the break.
My mom would call me a whore. She accused me of being in love with Ralph, seducing him.
I would tell my grandmother that my privates hurt. She completely refused to acknowledge it.
I felt entirely helpless.
My grandma was an enabler.
And later, why would you not turn around and say, get your hands off that child? Hannah and her mother, Angie, claim Ralph groomed them for abuse, all under Grandma's watchful eye.
The abuse that happened with my daughter and I was disgusting. My mom stood by and did nothing.
My grandma was an enabler. She allowed things to happen because she didn't speak up about it.
My mom would often be in the same room when Ralph would touch me, and she would just mind her own business. It was so frustrating because I took my cues from her, and if she didn't respond, I figured that nothing must be wrong.
After my grandmother and Ralph were divorced, my grandma would babysit me, and my grandma would take me without my mom's knowledge to Ralph's apartment and would leave me there. She wouldn't stay. It's absolutely ridiculous. My grandmother delivered me right into the hands of my abuser.
When I went to my mom about the abuse happening to me, she never reprimanded him. She never scolded him. She never told him to stop. Instead, my mom would call me a whore. She accused me of being in love with Ralph, seducing him, trying to break up her marriage. Nothing could be further from the truth. Ralph was gross.
I would tell my grandmother that my privates hurt. She completely refused to acknowledge it. She would just say, oh, that's weird, and she would move on. In a normal world, grandmothers are supposed to take care of the little ones. She didn't protect me.
I felt entirely helpless. My mom takes no responsibility.
My grandmother is just as guilty as Ralph.
Lita says she wants to believe her daughter and granddaughter, but says she saw absolutely nothing.
I want to believe that Hannah and Angela are telling me the truth, and we are here to get this fixed. The first time I heard anything about Ralph from Angie was 6 months before the divorce. I only heard that Hannah had been abused by Ralph 2 months ago. I had no idea that Hannah and Angela had been abused by Ralph. I never saw anything with my own eyes that would cause me concern. Had I seen or known of anything inappropriate, I would have immediately responded. I was always there when Ralph was bathing Hannah. It was my rule that the door be open. Bath time appeared to be a happy time with both being playful, pleasant, and happy, so there wasn't concern. Ralph was more like a boy than a man and didn't have sexual confidence with me. So how can he be sexually confident with either Hannah or Angie? I recall 2 conversations with Ralph that would indicate to me he's capable of what Angela and Hannah are accusing him of. And she shared with me his enjoyment of sexual interaction with nursing women. No matter how many times I apologize, it's never enough. Angie doesn't want to hear it. I don't think it's fair to abandon me when I didn't leave my post with them. I can't lie here. I can't say I've seen something I haven't seen.
I started Dr. Phil 15 years ago.
Yes.
And the first interview I ever gave about what Dr. Phil was going to be about, I said, we're going to talk about the silent epidemics in America. We're going to talk about the things that people don't talk about.
Yes.
1 in 4 women in America are subject to abuse. And I know that a large portion of our audience has walked this path. And I hope that what we talk about here today can be helpful and instructive and help people towards healing. As you look back, did you miss some things?
I have heard probably 70 or 80% of what has just been told you for the first time in the last hour. And I obviously have missed a great deal, but not intentionally. I love.
Do you doubt what Angie is telling you?
I can't. She's my daughter.
Do you doubt that Hannah is telling the truth?
No, neither one. Why would they do that? And how could I have missed it?
Do you recall Angie coming to you and telling you about this and you getting upset and telling her that she was a whore trying to...
I have never called my daughter a whore.
Trying to
I wouldn't
seduce your
use
husband?
that word. I don't use that word. And I didn't know that she had any interest in him.
Well, she didn't have any interest in him, and you did just use the word right now. So you don't remember rejecting her comments about what was going on and accusing her of being the instigator?
That is all totally not in my recall. He did share with me his interest in having sex with a lactating woman. You're telling me this when my daughter is nursing my granddaughter and I'm your current bed partner?
And you didn't know about Hannah's abuse until a few months ago?
No, that's correct.
You know, that's interesting because there's a police report here dated in 1999 that says that, in fact, you were advised of this.
Did I sign it? Do I know?
It said Hannah had told her grandmother her pee-pee hurt and it was sore. Angela also advised that she has confronted Ralph about his behavior with the help of Angela's mother, that they had a long talk, and Angela let her mother and her stepfather know that she did not agree with the way he treated girls or his attitude about sex and how open it was.
I recall about that time.
That was in 1999.
Yes, I recall about that time. That was 2 months before he left, and it ended. And we went to my knowledge, to a counseling session where these things were discussed. But as I recall, in that counseling session, I was attacked for a number of things. I felt thrown under the bus, but I couldn't tell you the details. That's the only time I could have thought.
So you did know about it. In 1999, you felt attacked about it. Do you remember that you and Ralph sat Angie down and told her not to press charges after that report?
I haven't seen the report.
That it would tear the family up?
I haven't seen the report, so I couldn't have sat down with her.
You and Ralph were sitting together on the other side of the couch. Your hand was on his knee, and you had told me not to press charges, that it was going to destroy the family, and that you were going to work on your marriage, that both you guys. This is even after he had said he was going to separate. And you said, we are going to hold this marriage together. Don't press charges. And we sat down and I laid out everything that had happened. And he, of course, denied it. And then you said that you would work on those things, you'd be more aware, and that now that I was gone and out of the house with Hannah, that we could just cut that off and each go our own way and forget about things and move on.
I don't remember that conversation. It's not triggering any memory for me, Dr. Phil.
Okay, and you don't recall being in the room or the bathroom when she was in the tub with your husband for extended periods of time and anything inappropriate going on?
I would come and go. You couldn't be in there for extended period of time because it was so small. There was a tub, a sink, and a facility. And I didn't hear anything that gave me, it was playtime. He was so commonly changing her and helping with her at that point. I saw them on opposite ends of the tub.
Did he walk around the house naked?
Well, no, not around the house. The bathroom where we changed.
Did he walk in front of her naked?
I don't know. I never saw it.
Do you recall her lying on the bed naked and him sitting on the bed naked?
No, but we did use the bed to change her and to dry her and dress her.
Are you shocked that you could have missed all of this?
Shocked? I'm devastated that I have lost that much of my life.
I have to tell you, I've been doing this for 40 years, and if someone had all of this going on under their nose and found out about that for the first time and realized that the man with whom they had been married had allegedly been molesting their daughter and their granddaughter in the ways that have been described here, I have to say your reaction is startlingly unusual to me.
I'm not here to persuade you in any regard, if that's your observation. I am 72 years old. It was 20 years ago. I wish my recall was better so I could support them. I love them. And I love all my family. And if anything perverted to this extent, I'd have to end it at the first word or the first notice. I had 2 indications from him that gave me the distasteful impression that he had a perverted capacity. He did share with me, obviously not nearly to the extent as with my daughter, but he did share with me his interest in having sex with a lactating woman. He liked that kind of pleasure. And I thought, you're telling me this when my daughter is nursing my granddaughter and I'm your current bed partner?
You spoon-fed her to him. He's still out there, unscathed.
Hannah and Angie are going to face the man they say did all of this to them.
Ralph came after me for custody of Hannah. I did not want him anywhere near her. So I started keeping a journal of his threats and the conversations that we had. The journal went missing. I would ask my mom about it. She denied ever seeing it. One day when I went to pick up Hannah, I saw the journal and the pages were ripped out of it. I asked my mom, is this my journal? Because my mom had destroyed my journal, I had been left defenseless in court. All of my evidence was completely destroyed.
What do you think about what your grandmother's saying?
You keep saying, I want to believe you, I want to believe you. Why don't you believe us?
That makes sense. Because it was within the last 20 minutes that I heard 80% of what you're saying.
Mom,
you have shared with me some basic things.
No, I talked to you every step of the way. I asked you not to allow him to bathe with her. Do you remember that? That I begged you, don't let him bathe with her while I'm gone.
I can't remember that, but I do remember my own personal interest in having the door open and watching how he was with her.
When I moved out and you babysat, you took her to his house after I said no communications. You would sneak and take her. I had to quit my job so I could stay at home with her and do daycare from my home, just because I could not trust her in your hands, because you spoon-fed her to him.
Her siblings have mentioned that they saw Ralph coming and going from her apartment, and I thought, why, if she had told me that she didn't like his company, why that was occurring apart from me.
Mom, you gave him the key to my apartment. Do you remember that?
I don't.
I did not tell Ralph where I lived.
Didn't know
I didn't know, or I didn't want him to know where I lived. And he made my life miserable.
Did you give him a copy of the key?
I don't recall me having a key.
You did admit you gave him a key because he was going to deliver a washer and dryer to my house and it was going to be a surprise. He used that to stalk and make my life miserable. And I told you this. I told you all of this at the time.
You say that Lita replaced your journal of memories with a vision board of J.C. Penney models?
Like Land's End catalogs. I came over, I had a journal with me in my apartment, so I don't know how you were able to get it. It went missing. When I went to pick up Hannah at your apartment, I saw it out of the corner. When I picked it up, all the pages that I had written in had been ripped out, and you had like cutouts of JCPenney models or Land End models. And I said to you, I said, is this my journal? And you said it was full of negative things and you wanted to replace it with positive things.
Do you recall cutting pages out?
But it was my book.
But do you recall cutting pages out of her book and putting...
I have never cut anything out of hers.
The pages were ripped out. And when I tried to bring it up with you, you pulled the whole, I'm just the world's worst mother. Is that what you're trying to tell me? You did the victim thing that you do.
You made some statements about that. You said, I don't consider myself a victim. And these are the statements she made about that he owes Angela and Hannah an apology. I can't be the only one apologizing here. I don't think it's fair the way they are treating me. I've been apologizing for years, but Angela doesn't hear me. I made choices that Angie felt harmed her. I feel he tricked me. I don't have the luxury of being a doting mother. I was the main provider most of the time. I was betrayed in my first marriage. My second husband betrayed me. So often I feel helpless. I feel there is nothing I can do to take Angie's pain away. I would like answers. I would like to know what Angie is exactly upset with me about. Why is she attacking everyone in her life? Why is she so critical of me? Now, those are some of the questions that she has for you.
I never heard you apologize about this. I need acknowledgement for this Because if we don't figure out what the dynamics were that caused this, part of the suffering that Hannah and I still feel is that he's still out there, unscathed. He's still out there.
I didn't marry him to abuse you. This has not been described to me before.
For you to say that I didn't know this was going on means you are in collusion with the person that she is alleging did this to her. What do you need her to know? Because you do have the floor now.
I need you to just give me validation. And I need you to just admit that, yes, these things happened and I saw it. And I don't even care for sorry. I just want you to say that, yes, I did see this. And it happened. And that I can move on knowing that you admitted that. And I have that validation. And I can heal and I can stop dragging a dead horse.
I would love to take responsibility if I could pull it out of my mind. I don't know where it is at, but I tell you, in all honesty, I love you and I want to believe what everything you have said happened. I don't know who the woman was in my body as you saw me in your presence, as you talked to me. I don't know where she is. This is why we're with a professional, is because I don't know where that person is in this discussion at the moment. And in any discussion I've had here, I'm here because I love you and I will do anything to have peace and happiness in your life. If it means that you don't have to see or talk to me, that would be okay. But what I hear you want me to do is say something I can't pull up. I can't pull it up in my memory. I didn't set this up so that you could be harmed. I just can't bring it up, Hannah.
Can I say something on your behalf here? I think what Hannah is saying to you that you need to understand is that even at her young age, she knew this was wrong. And she's lying there looking at you 10 feet away saying, come save me. You're right here. You aren't blind. You have to know what's going on here. And for you to say, no, I'm going to tell you that I didn't know this was going on, means you are in collusion with the person that she is alleging did this to her. That you are throwing in with him, and if you are a bystander to this abuse as an adult in her life, a protector in her life, you are just as guilty as the person that's putting his hands on her inappropriately. And that's what she's saying. Why would you not turn around and say, get your hands off that child?
Exactly.
Am I saying it correctly?
No, that was really good. That was about it.
That's what she's feeling. And for the first time in 15 years, Hannah and Angie are going to face the man they say did all of this to them. Now, let me be very clear, because I am loath to put an alleged abuser in the presence of the victims. I only do that if and when you tell me you want to do that.
That's correct.
I'm doing this with your permission and actually your request.
Yes. Yes.
All right. After the break, we'll meet the man that is alleged to have done these things. We'll be right back.
For the record, I deny ever hurting Angela or Hannah. Angela has been poisoning Hannah against me. Hannah and I would bathe together. I thought it was innocent. Nothing happened. To my knowledge, I didn't think there was anything inappropriate.
Want to know what's coming up on Dr. Phil? Visit our website and subscribe to our email newsletter. You'll get weekly updates, life strategies, and exclusive video that you won't find anywhere else.
Plus, on drphil.com, you can see sneak previews of upcoming shows. Log on today.
Well, we are out of time for today. Now, tomorrow, Angie and Hannah will come face-to-face with Ralph for the first time in 15 years. Here's a sneak peek at that emotional confrontation.
Tomorrow on an all-new Dr. Phil. Accused by his stepdaughter and granddaughter.
You know what you did.
Of the unthinkable.
You deny ever touching Angela inappropriately.
Yes, I do. I've never been charged. I've never been convicted.
You should have. You have such arrogance. You came here with this attitude.
Attitude or truth?
So Angie is lying and Hannah is lying.
Mostly, that is true.
Are you molesting other kids?
My God, you got dirty minds.
I have a dirty mind.
You are willing to destroy my life.
You have destroyed mine.
As God is my witness, I did not molest you.
That's tomorrow on an all-new Dr. Phil.
You do not want to miss that. As you just saw, Ralph adamantly denies ever sexually abusing Angie or Hannah. So in an attempt to prove his innocence, Ralph agreed to take a polygraph exam. Did Ralph molest his stepdaughter and granddaughter? Well, you're going to find out the results tomorrow. I want to thank all of my guests today. We'll see you next time.